What's going on, everybody? This is Stubbs from Retro Handhelds, and we are back today with the X18S and X18S Ultra from PowKiddy. That's right, it's going to be a double review. Today we're going to show off everything this clamshell can do, as well as what the Unisoc T618 processor can do, which is awesome that they included it here because it's also in the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, and it is also in the Anbernic RG505. And so this will give you kind of a good idea of what you can and can't do with that processor. It plays everything up to some Nintendo Switch, which is incredible. It's very capable and holds its own. It will not best something like the AYN Odin or the Odin Lite, and at the price point on offer here, you just really can't beat it. So let's dig in and see what we got. Alright, to start things off, let's go ahead and take a look at both of these PowKiddy handhelds here. So both of them run Android, and they're both clamshells. So coming from a kind of long line of clamshells from PowKiddy, there was the X18, then the X18S here that I'm using now, and then the X18S Ultra. This X18S, I love the shell of it. It's very matte, doesn't have fingerprint issues like the Ultra. The hinge will get you though, so you gotta be careful with that. And it only has 2 positions for the hinge, so it's not fluid motion there. You do have the joysticks here, which I've upgraded with Vita joysticks, and that helps improve on that model especially. Face buttons, yep, added some scotch tape under there to improve those. D-pad has a DS Lite D-pad here, which feels great. This model here is just fine. It had some overheating issues since there wasn't any thermal paste on the CPU. The rumor is, and so I'm happy to see that that might be changed here. L1 and R1, kind of a funky shape, but they're serviceable. You have this red marker here, 3.5 inch out on the front, as well as front-facing speakers right there. Same thing with the hinge here. You got to be careful because it will get you. Face buttons are not that much improved from the first one, but they are a little bit better. The D-pad is not good at all. After I've been using it, it's very hard to use accurately. Beware of that. I really would replace that and do the mods that you did to the old X18S to the new model as well. I really do recommend the mods at this point after having spent a little more time with both of these. So as you can also see, my my A button is worn away there. The paint wore away in the impressions video. Now it's all the way worn off. L1 and R1, I contend, are really not an improvement over the original. They are kind of difficult to press down. L2 and R2 are fine, not the most comfortable to use either. I do dig the design though. I think the design looks attractive on these for the most part. It just has its own, has some issues. And so watch my first impressions video if you want to get a better idea of what I'm thinking on that stuff. Alright, and if you take a look at the shell here, unfortunately on this X18S Ultra variant, it is just a fingerprint magnet. While it's a matte feeling shell, it just collects a lot of fingerprints. How about some accessories? So here is the X18S case that you can get from PowKiddy on AliExpress, or I believe on their website. Fits the X18S great, both the original and the new one, of course, since it's the same shell size. Alright, let's go over the specs real fast. So it does have that Unisoc T618 64-bit 8-core processor at 2 GHz. For GPU, it has a Mali G52. Storage, it has 64 gigabytes on board, as well as a micro SD card slot, which should handle up to 2 terabytes. RAM, you got 4 gigs right there. Screen, 5.5 inch 720 by 1280 IPS touchscreen. Connectivity, Wi-Fi 5 and Bluetooth 5. We have USB-C charging, also data for USB, and a mini HDMI out as far as connectivity goes. For audio, we have stereo speakers, 3.5 inch out for headphones, and also has a rumble inside it, so that's really helpful when playing to bring that realism to life. Battery has a LiPo 5000 milliamp hour, which we will talk about in a second here. And for the OS, it has Android 11 with the option of Lineage 18.1. Once Black Seraph gets it working on the Ultra, it is already available, of course, for the regular X18S, which I highly recommend. Black Seraph is just an awesome developer who works tirelessly on this stuff. Yeah, I highly recommend subscribing to his Patreon to fund development of this awesome alternative of the stock OS, which is frankly a mess. So let's dig in and look at that battery. Alright, looking at battery life testing, we're trying out Aether SX2 here, playing a little bit of Maximo on PS2. We're running at max brightness with Wi-Fi off. and battery saver on, which I noticed did not decrease performance. We just let this run until it ran out. Under heavy use here, taxing the CPU fully, running at 3 hours and 48 minutes there for heavy usage. Under casual usage, I found it to last as long as 6 hours and 11 minutes. So your mileage may vary, but also shout out to the Fox for that handy dandy rubber band method. Save time not having to play until it dies. Battery, I'm impressed with, but let's look at the comparison here of the competition. So we have the GPD XD line, both the XD original and the XD Plus. Both are beautiful devices. They're my favorite clamshells of all time. And as far as design, aesthetic, and ergonomics, man, they still beat the X18S for my money. Yeah, showing the XD Plus there, and my red XD original and blue XD original. These are just still my favorite clamshells, my favorite emulation clamshells of all time. And so far, in my testing, the X18S Ultra did not meet my needs there. So this still is my favorite design, and the Ultra, of course, is much better performance, but that doesn't always matter to me as much as ergonomics. And so as crazy as it is, these might still be my favorite clamshell devices. Of the two, probably the XD original. Just, it's hard to beat that classic. Battery life, you had 12 hours. They feel great. And what's awesome, again, is that the hinge is full motion, too. Face buttons work well enough. You can do upgrades like I've done on the XD Plus there. That blue shell, oh man. Now that's a matte plastic that feels good. I mean, the thickness is a little bit nicer on the X18S because it's a little bit thinner, which is makes it more pocketable, but I don't think we bested clamshells in the Android space yet. All right, so looking at the stock launcher, it is just garbage. It is just bad. It just looks bad. It is not, while it's semi-functional, many of the things do nothing, such as choosing between your PS3 or Xbox layout. This actually does nothing. Looking at the LED switch here, this does nothing. Looking at a few of the options here, do nothing. Display takes you back over to the Android side there to go deeper into the Android menus. You can map games and apps into your menus here, but it's just ugly and disjointed, and I just got rid of it immediately and swapped over to the Quick Step, which is the other option. You can also set your home launcher to be a front end, such as Reset Collection or Daijisho, but Quick Step is what I'm using here, so I get full access to the Android experience. All right, so we have Wi-Fi, we have Bluetooth, a Do Not Disturb option, Auto Rotate, Battery Saver, Airplane Mode, Nightlight, which I love that Nightlight mode, Screen Record, Sharing Location, Data Saver, Dark Mode, and Bedtime Mode. So these are, as well as Ultra Battery Saver. So I learned that leaving Battery Saver on all the time did not decrease performance by any noticeable measure. So this seems to disable background services that aren't needed, as well as any connectivity that's not needed to save battery life. So to get some of the better battery life tests that I got, definitely try Battery Saver on. Prove me wrong on that one, but I could not find a degradation in performance. Checking out to see if there's any OTA updates from PowKiddy. There are not yet. It says we are up to date. It says we are up to date here on Android 11. Now, I cannot wait for Black Seraph to release his X18S Ultra Lineage 18.1 firmware for this, so we can get a true OS that fixes some of my gripes with the device. But the stock Android experience is, as long as you take away the built-in launcher, at least a stock Android experience, so you can customize it. It has the Google Play Store, which is great, so you can get all your apps. You don't have to sideload. So let's take a look at front ends. First off, we have Launchbox, Reset Collection, and Daijisho. Opening up Launchbox, and Launchbox is a great option. It is $25. Check out pricing for sales coming up since it's Black Friday times, but yeah, it's an awesome experience and well worth, not $25, but like well worth like $5 to $10. It's clean. It has lots of theming options. You can choose a random game, which I love having a randomizer because I can never pick what I want to play. It has really cool different views. It has built-in star ratings, so you can see your Launchbox star ratings, which do carry over from the PC database, of course, onto the Android experience here, so you get to pull from that huge database of people who have rated these games. That is a big bonus of having Launchbox. Other than that, it's still early in development, and so it's pretty basic on features, so I do not use this front end as my daily driver, but I do like how customizable it is. You can also download theme videos and video snaps, and I like that they're starting to add more options that people care about, more features that people care about. All right, now taking a look at Daijisho. This is a one-man dev team, a fairly new app, but it is quickly growing in features and very, very impressive. I find it very compelling, and it is free, so that's really nice. It's still missing some of the customizable options and 3D box art and things that I find important, but it's definitely getting there, and I'm impressed how they integrated retro achievements and integrated really clean scraping, although the scraping does need a little bit of work because it does not give you consistent artwork, I noticed. So you will have to sort of play with that a bit or supply your own artwork in some instances. Diving into SNES, if you want to see what SNES looks like on the screen. Now this panel is nothing to write home about, but it's definitely serviceable, and it is a bit on the cooler side, realize that, and so there's an option for a night mode if you pull down the menu up top, and so it's really nice to have that because filtering that blue light on your eyes when you're playing in bed at night, man, it's nice to have a warm option, and not a lot of these handhelds have that, so just wanted to call that out. In my book, that sort of saves the panel, and the panel can get super dim, which is nice, and also really bright, so I could definitely play it in daylight. I could play it next to my wife at night because it wouldn't wake her up because it's nice and dim. You get access to all of your Android apps. Daijisho can function as a launcher, by the way, so you can set it as a launcher. It's really cool. There's theming already in here, which is great. Here's a custom theme that I really liked. I really like how it looks. I don't like that it doesn't have 3D box art yet, so you're limited to 2D box art. PS2, Pico 8. I love that it scrapes Pico 8 and just uses the PNG files from the file. That's brilliant. Nintendo DS is there. Even Nintendo Switch is built in here. Yeah, I mean, it's coming along. It hasn't won me over completely yet. All right, and now we're going to take a look at my favorite Android front-end reset collection. This is still my favorite to this day. It is $5, but well worth it in my opinion. And I'm a well-known reset shill though, so take that with a grain of salt. But yep, I do enjoy this one. Nice 3D scraped box art. Has the randomizer. Has an awesome search algorithm and search filter. Nice being able to scroll to games. You can swap from 2D to 3D box art at will. Reset collection has very fast and accurate scraping. Has nice random filters. You can filter by your randomizer by collection, by date, by release year, by genre, and a game keyword such as Barbie if you only want Barbie games to search through the randomizer. Not only this, but you can also do the same filters there when you're doing your search options, and you can set Reset Collection to be a launcher as well, so it can launch on boot, which is awesome. It can autoplay video snaps and also autoplay YouTube videos, so it'll automatically pull YouTube video for every game that it finds in its database that it can search and find, which is really nice if you don't want to take up storage on your device by doing video snaps. Also, Reset Collection will show you all of your Android apps, has almost as many platforms as Daijisho. I don't believe Nintendo Switch is here yet, but I do recommend all three of these front ends, as well as some other honorable mentions such as Arc Browser. Even Dig has its place. These are just some options that I enjoy and recommend. All right, a little more game testing here. I've set up Daijisho a bit further since I've really been trying to learn this one. Let's do a little bit of GameCube. Wario World in Dolphin MMJR2, which I found Dolphin MMJR2 to perform the best of the different variations of Dolphin. This one's able to run full speed. Not all GameCube games are going to run full speed. In fact, probably only about half of them are going to run full speed at 1x resolution. So this is running, all the games will be at 1x here. But yeah, it struggles. You know, it struggles. So it's kind of a toss-up. Check out our X18S compatibility sheet, which will be in the description below. That'll show all the game testing that has been done so far, what settings will work to get the best performance, which games will work, will not work. This has now been made into a generalized T618 spreadsheet, so it covers now the RP3 Plus, the X18S, X18S Ultra, of course, as well as the RG505. So check it out, and please add to it. Help us make it, build it. If you'd like to help manage it, let me know. Now playing a little Luigi's Mansion, which also does get to full speed and mostly maintains it. Let's try out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. TMNT Mutant Melee. Time to Melee. Alright, now playing Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk's American Wasteland on GameCube. This game does not run full speed. It gets close. It's about 75-80%. It's almost playable. Sometimes you get some pretty terrible stutters. Alright, let's do some more GameCube. So here we have Alien Hominid. This one was not an issue to get full speed, and I believe I even am running this one at a 2x resolution. But yeah, this looks great. The face buttons are, again, face buttons are serviceable for platformers like this, where you're shooting a gun or you're... Yeah, Hominid looks good. Animal Crossing, full speed, no problem. Batman Vengeance. Yeah, the T618 holds up pretty damn well here. Getting some drops, but I'd call it playable. Alright, Bloody Roar 3. Yeah, this one does not run full speed. This one is not really playable. Looks good though, very pretty. Taking a look at Bloody Roar Primal Fury. This does not run full speed at all. Not really that playable either, but it sure does look nice. Again, highlighting how truly awful this D-pad is. Now playing a little bit of Blowout on GameCube. This is one that's almost maintaining full speed. And I've made no real changes to stock settings. Everything's at a 1x resolution with the default speed hacks checked. Here we got some Burnout. Burnout runs well. We're hitting 100% here. Fantastic. And here we have Capcom versus SNK2. I'm using the joystick here because the D-pad actually does not work for this game. It uses the left joystick, and the right joystick, I believe, is the C buttons. And so, just throwing my Hadoukens. So many Hadoukens. Hadoukened. Yay. Chibi Robo. Chibi Robo. No problemo. Runs good, looks good, sounds good. Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex runs like, well, it's awful. It's no good. I don't like it. I do like those seals though. Oh, they're so cute. Oh, I'm a Crash Ghost. See you later. This is probably why it's worth trying out like MMJ or even MMJR, because this one's a little buggy and I can't get graphics showing on Kirby. Kirby's Air Ride. Kirby Air Ride is the game. All right, what else we got here? All right, now hopping into PlayStation 1, we're going to upscale Bloody Roar 2 here to a solid at least 4x resolution. So we're going to upscale to 720p. And yeah, runs great, has no trouble. We're at 3x, so we upscaled it to 3x for 720p. Now, Bloody Roar 2 classically is a pretty tough game to emulate. Playing some N64, A Bug's Life here. It's handling it no problem. This is running in Muppin Parallel. Headed on over to Dreamcast, we got Sonic Adventure 2 running in RetroArch on Flycast. And it's running like a dream. full speed. I believe upscaled to 720p as well. But yeah, this runs smooth as butter, and it looks great. This also shows off the screen pretty well. The screen is ultra reflective, as you can often see my my face or the outline of my mustache poking through, but this seems to really be reflective, and so just take that into account if you're going to pick one of these up. Moving over to Shadow Man on the Dreamcast here. Also runs full speed, no issue. Not the prettiest game. On PPSSPP. Say that 10 times fast. Okay, so, yep, here's Daxter, and this is running no problem, full speed at 1x. Let's up the ante a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 2x PSP, so we're actually going to up it to, let's try 3x. So here we are running at 3x, and we are still getting 100%. Nice smooth 30 FPS. On to the next. Now trying out God of War, Ghost of Sparta. Here we are running at 1x at full speed. Tried pushing it to 2x, didn't quite like that very much, but 1x is no problem. Looks good, sounds good. Joysticks feel good. Alright, and here's Mega Man Maverick Hunter X on PSP running at 4x resolution. You know, a benefit of having these face buttons so close to the shell like this is that it is easy in platforming games like this to quickly button mash. But the D-pad is just awful. It is so bad. It feels bad and it plays bad. And the face buttons are okay. They're they feel similar to the Logitech G Cloud. Trying out some Nintendo Wii, and it is not that impressive performance-wise there. We are not getting full speed in nearly any of the games here. And moving on over to 3DS here, we have Epic Mickey Power of Illusion, and this one's actually running fairly well. It's been kind of hit or miss with 3DS so far, but this one is mostly holding full speed. That's great. Now running Mario Kart 7. This is running in Citra MMJ. We are getting some slowdown here in Mario Kart. No doubt about that. Playing on PS2, we're playing Ben 10, Protector of Earth. And this one at 1x, we're getting full speed. That's great. Alright, now playing PS2 in Aether SX2, we have Bloody Roar 3, Dark Cloud. Also not quite maintaining full speed in this one. Extermination on PS2. This one's running almost full speed. Kind of a cool game. Kind of a mashup of like Metal Gear and I don't know, Siphon Filter. Now trying out Gauntlet 7 Sorrows on PS2 again. This one's doing pretty well. Again, most of these games I'm running at 1x. Jak and Daxter the Precursor. Legacy runs understandably awful. Looks bad. Sounds bad. Plays bad. Klonoa 2 is not any better. This is not good. Game looks fun though. And here we are with Maximo Army of Zen. This one is doing pretty well, getting some drops, but trying out Mega Man X8. And this one was doing pretty well in my play testing. So Mega Man X8, yeah, this one running at 1x, running full speed, just fine. Again, these face buttons are serviceable for these types of, for this genre, platforming. Well suited. Bravo. D-pad not in your life, no. Alright, Pac-Man World 2. Works well. Well, Summoner looks terrible, but it runs seemingly fine. Last up in our PS2 showcase here is Taz Wanted. This one runs no issue. Blasting away at 1x. Womp womp. Alright, moving on over to Nintendo Switch with Skyline Edge. So, Skyline Edge is the latest, greatest nightly build of Skyline for Android, which is very impressive. It's early in development, but it is very, very impressive. So I was very surprised to see that it even ran on this chipset. Here we're running Daggerhood. And Daggerhood is a game that runs full speed. Fantastic. Mostly it's 2D Switch games that'll work. Some 3D ones work okay. Now trying out Owlboy. This is another one that runs full speed. Here is Another World. I think it's running full speed. It feels like it as far as this game goes. It's a very unique game. I'm showing, of course, only 11 FPS there on the counter, 14 FPS. But it feels the normal speed of this game as far as I remember it. Here is Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, which is one of my favorite Switch games as of late. This one is not running full speed. Very, very jittery, but looks neat. Now we're playing Bastion, which is running pretty well, getting about 75% speed here. Here's Mega Man 11, which is it's a no-go. It's just too slow. A few tips on this chipset and running Skyline Edge, by the way. So if you're doing Skyline Edge, you want to enable handheld mode. Don't play it in docked mode. Handheld mode should give you a better performance, as far as I've heard. Also, you want to enable triple buffering. So triple buffering should help with FPS. It will cause a little bit more input lag, so be aware of that. But we want to squeeze as much as we can out of this CPU. And here is Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams Owltimate Edition. This one we're not quite getting full speed on. And that is what it is. Lastly, for Nintendo Switch, we'll take a look at Oxenfree. Seems to be running just fine. There's a lot of plot here in the beginning, and so we're mostly emulating the menu right now. But yeah, seems to be running okay. All right, moving on over to Android, we have the Cuphead port, which this is tends to be a buggy port sometimes, and so this is running pretty well. I don't notice any lag or slowdown, which is awesome. And again, I'll say it again, these face buttons work for this type of game. Combine that with the joysticks, which are pretty decent feeling. They're not like Hall joysticks or anything, or even as good as Switch joysticks, but hey, they're nice and flat so that the clamshell can close, which is important. Now we're going to play a little bit of Dead Cells, which runs just fine. Yeah, this is great. Now playing Hollow Knight. Runs very well. And now playing Shovel Knight, which is a great game if you haven't played it before. Great series. Runs well. Now trying out AM2R, another Metroid 2 remake, which is a great port of Metroid 2. All right, let's summarize here. So what did I think about the PowKiddy X18S and X18S Ultra? Well, to start out with what I liked, the screen, while not amazing, not amazingly vibrant, not rich like OLED, or even like a high-end IPS, what I liked about the screen is that it's awesome for bedtime. It gets really, really dim, and you can turn on a night mode where it filters out the blue light and is a nice warm screen for nighttime playing, which is a big consideration, at least for how things run in my household here. So this is, you know, also that T618 is capable. It's a capable chipset at a good value. Usually the X18S it's a good CPU at a good value. It runs up to some GameCube, PS2, Switch, the tiniest bit of Wii. You know, it's just not bad. It's going to be in the RP3 Plus. It's going to be in the RG505. So if this is anything to show what we're going to get in those are going to be, I mean, all these options are going to be great for the price. Battery life is awesome. As you saw, was 3 hours and 48 minutes under heavy usage. A little over 6 hours when casually playing. You know, lower end systems or browsing around, setting up your front end. That is really, really nice. So I really like the battery life. 5,000 milliamp hours really got stretched here a long way. This, in my mind, is the quote-unquote best clamshell just on paper. Performance, options, features. I consider it now the best clamshell, but let me segue here. My favorite clamshell is still the GPD XD Plus and XD original models. So those are still the best in my mind, but technically on paper, this should now be the best clamshell for Android emulation, which is a very niche market. Now, talking about the other clamshell in the room, of course, we're talking about the Nintendo 3DS, which this design is inspired by. Yeah, which I do recommend picking up a 3DS or a GPD XD as great other alternatives. You know, the XD you can get around the $200 price point, used often in the $100 range or less. So check out deals for that. Check out links we have in our description. As well as for the 3DS, you can find those used these days for pretty decent prices across the internets and eBay. So check out your local retro marketplace. Come to our Discord. We have a marketplace there. Oftentimes we have 3DSs show up in there. So those are some great options for emulation. Now also, what I liked is the price is very competitive. So you'll see this hover around 160 to 175 bucks. Especially around this time of year where things are on sale more. I've even seen it drop a little below that. So just keep your eye on deals and follow the description in our link if you want to pick one up. But this is a competitive price with this chipset. Comparing this against the RP3 Plus, even I can still consider it competitive, and the RG505, which we just learned the pricing on at starting at $148. I mean, it's still in the ballpark. I would suggest I recommend that they drop it straight to 150. PowKiddy, if you could, that would help sell more units, I believe. And yeah, it'd be a good idea. As far as dislikes go, ooh, buttons and D-pad are bad. The face buttons are improved over the first one, but they're still just not good. And the D-pad is still just bad. I mean, I really recommend swapping that out, putting in the modded DS Lite D-pad, and switching out for like an RG350 membrane, because it's just bad. The face button's okay. I might even add at this point, after using it all this time, a bit more Scotch tape underneath to help it a bit, but it is what it is. They're just weak. I don't know what to say. It's not an improvement. It's not. I wouldn't consider it ultra. If we're talking about old versus new. Something else to consider is it gets hot. Yeah, when I was playing PS2 especially, it gets very, very hot. And it starts to get just warm to the touch. It starts to collect more fingerprints. So I wonder about the thermal paste and the thermals inside this thing. While speaking of dangerous thermals, what about dangerous hinges? So that hinge snaps back, as you saw in the impressions video, injured my finger not once, but at least 2 or 3 times on both models. So just watch out for that when you're opening the lid on that. The software, the built-in game launcher, is a mess. They've been shipping this same launcher for the past just years, pretty much, and I've not seen any improvements to that. The software is not impressed with. I can't wait to get Lineage on here once Black Seraph has that ready, and highly recommend picking that up when you do. Next up is Wi-Fi. So you probably noticed I didn't try out game streaming. That's because I did not have a good experience. The Wi-Fi signal just was not doing very well, and so I decided to skip it. Please do watch Russ's video from Retro Game Core for probably more in-depth on streaming there. But the Wi-Fi antenna I found to be fairly weak, and the signal to be fairly weak, and I barely got 1 bar. On other devices, I would get 3 or 4 bars in the same spot, and so just not the best Wi-Fi. Not the best Wi-Fi. Also, L3 and R3 will not map in RetroArch, so this is something I encountered in the first impressions video, but I wanted to mention it again here, is that I cannot find a way for the life of me to map L3 and R3 in RetroArch. So they just will not map, and we'll have to wait to see if there's a fix, an OTA fix on that one, but so far there has been none. Shoulder buttons are kind of a pain. They work and they're clicky, which is great, but they are a lot of work to press down and not very satisfying to press. So it's just, I didn't find them too ergonomically placed either. Another annoyance for me, this might be minor, but it's big, is that the paint chips off the face button. So the first time I was using it, the A button started chipping away, and now I have no A. It's just blank, and I guess I could repaint it if I wanted to. The other face buttons, X, Y, and B, are still good. There's been no wear and tear on them, so just the A button for whatever reason. As far as fixes that we'd suggest to PowKiddy, you know, a better shell, a matte shell that doesn't have so many smudges, because that does distract you when you're playing. You're like, oh, this is, you know, constantly cleaning it. Add a better Wi-Fi antenna, just so streaming would be more enjoyable. I really didn't get much into streaming because I just was having connection issues right off the bat, and so I really don't want to show that off in this video until I can give it a fair shake. It could be just a defective unit, but yeah, or it needs a longer antenna. It'd be nice if we had a better D-pad, a real D-pad in this, because it just did not feel good. It did not play well. As well as the joysticks, if possible, if I was dreaming. Some Hall joysticks seems to be the new trend, and so just, yeah, having the latest greatest would be nice in here. No stick drift. And then get QA on that dang button paint, you know? I know it's a little thing, but it's paint the buttons. I want the buttons to stay the same color. Now, having said all that, that brings us to a final score of 6 out of 10 Pow Children. Yes, that's right. I like this device. I don't love it. I don't necessarily recommend it if you have the RP3 Plus with the same chipset at a little bit lower price point, as well as the RG505 at a great price point, $150 there, coming out here. It's just, if you really love clamshells, and you really love Android clamshells, and you're not going to get a new XD because GPD is not continuing that line currently, then this is the closest I think you're going to get. I still am dearly held to my GPD XD, and that's the one I recommend for a clamshell. However, if you want a T618 and you want it in a clamshell form, then I recommend this one. This is the best one you can get for the money. Go ahead and pick one up in our affiliate link that supports the channel. And overall, I've had fun with this device, and I'm going to go back and enjoy playing all of my a little bit older games on my GPD XD, because this has totally reawakened my love for that device. Ah, yes. Well, PowKiddy, we hope that you give us another one here soon, and we want to see you succeed and do better and better. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you to our patrons, everything you guys do to support what we're doing here. This has been Stubbs. Take care of your handhelds, everybody, and each other.